Great, welcome back. So we've got our low poly model, quote unquote low poly. And at this point, if we were retopologizing this manually, we need to take this out and take it into something like Rhizome or something like that to unwrap this thing. If we're going to go through a film or CG animation type workflow. For games, it's not so necessary, but just keep that in mind. Depending on what workflow you're doing, you want to unwrap it now at this point. So export it into Rhizome, whatever you're using, unwrap that, and then import that back in before we do the next step. All right, so let's say we've done that and we're ready for projection. So we have two of our models here. We have the retopoed. So I'm just going to rename this to body_retopo. And then we have the high poly sculpture. All right. Just going to change that back to white. So the high poly and the retopo. So the idea here is that we need to get the high poly, which is this one here. It's very messy, but it looks good. We need to transfer as much of that detail across to the retopoed mesh. So I like to solo at this point, or use solo a lot at this point. So I have both of these visible. So if I turn solo off, they're both sitting on top of each other. And then I like to use solo to inspect the mesh. So what we need to do is make sure you have your retopo selected. And then we want to go to our subtool, subpalette, scroll down to where it says project and turn colors off, and you can turn blur off. So this can get you more accurate results, but it can also lead to more issues. So quite often I don't turn it off, but towards the end I sort of do, right? And I'm just going to press project all. The first time you do this, it can be quite quick. So it's done already. So I'm just going to turn solo on to inspect the mesh. So what I'm looking for here is any obvious sort of issues. And so far it's pretty good. You would know what those issues are when you see them, because they're just either holes or they're just doesn't look right. And usually it's because the mesh is dirty. Okay, so I had to just get out for a sec. So I kind of forgot where I was. Okay, so we have our low poly, so we need to project across. So once you've done your first projection, you should be able to go into geometry and see that we have a subdiv, well, our second projection, sorry. At this point, we want to inspect the mesh. And sometimes it's not obvious that there's an error on the first couple of projections. You need to project a few more times, all right? So I'm going to get out of solo mode, press Ctrl D to subdivide. You can see here I have a subdivision now, and I'm going to repeat that step. So project all and just let it project. Now the goal here is to get a level that we're happy with. So we want to make sure that we have a low poly, somewhat well retopoed low poly, as well as a high poly, all in the same subdiv, or all in the same, subdivision levels, right? All in the same subtool, I should say. All right, so I'm gonna inspect this again. So just take a look at the mesh to see if there's any sort of issues. And this looks pretty good. I'm hoping there is some issues, just so I can show you guys what to do. I do have issues on my good one, so I haven't gone that far with it yet. All right, so I know the details aren't quite there yet, so I'm just going to press Control D one more time. Get out of solo mode and then project. So this can take a bit of time, especially when you're at the higher end. The projection can take, I think I've waited over half an hour once. So you just got to give it time to do that. Great, so go back to solo. Let's take a look at any issues if we have any. So this looks pretty good. So to check if the quality is, or the level of detail is the same as the original, I like to be in solo mode still, and then you can just tap the original, then inspect that, then tap the projection, and you see that it's not quite there yet. Right, there's a bit of details that's missing. I don't want to bore you with just me projecting, but that's pretty much it. So we just need to repeat the steps until we get to the same level, right? You probably won't get exactly the same, right? At the high end, if you zoom all the way in, there's probably a slight difference, but at this sort of level, when you zoom this far out, you can probably get it to be pretty much exactly the same. So let's say we do have errors, right? So I have my one here, which I've just done, and there are some errors, right? So you need to inspect your mesh. As you do this, you should fix them as you go. So this here is a pretty common error that can happen, right? And this is where the alignment of your retopo and your high poly is not exactly the same. So ideally, you should catch this as you go up in your subdivision levels. So as you sort of start to see this happening, which for some reason, whatever reason, I didn't catch this. But as you sort of, as you see this start to happen, you need to come in here and smooth out. And then when you project, the next time that happens, it doesn't get as bad, right? But because I didn't catch this early on, what I need to do is come into here, smooth this out, and it's best to do this level by level. It's just much easier than to try to do this at the highest subdivision, right? And we will most likely need to re-detail this section here. So I'm going to go up. I'm just going to work my way up until it's all good, right? And sometimes I find that you need to smooth stronger at this point, right? So for example, like here, it's kind of going under the mesh. So I can isolate that out. Zoom on in. And sometimes it's easier to go on the inside, right? And you can see I might have cut off a bit too much. Yeah, you can see that it's going all the way up there, right? Okay, so something like this it was. All right. So sometimes it's a lot easier going inside and then smoothing. But what I'm going to do here is go to my smooth brushes and just enable smooth stronger. This will just make this process a lot quicker. Okay, so I know there's more errors, so I'm just going to go through them now. And it's just going to be a process of doing this sort of fixing. You can see I have some tiny little ones here. Just notice them. There's a little hole there, so I'm just going to smooth that out. And it looks like this one's going to be a bit of an issue, so might just try to isolate that. See, it's just this little vertex that just got left behind. So we can have symmetry turned on at this point, but because we're going so small, you just got to make sure you check the other side as well, because it's not always 100% accurate. So whilst you might fix up a tiny little section on one side, the other side might still be kind of messed up. All right, so I think I got another issue here. All right, so you can see that I don't have that on this side. So that was the same issue. So I'm just going to fix this one up. So it can be a little bit tricky. If it gets a bit too tricky, you kind of want to work down in the lower subdivs, and that can fix it up quite quickly and quite a lot easier as well. So I'm just going to spend some time fixing all of this up, so you can see that I got some other little pieces here, like here, right? And I've got some more extreme pieces that I need to fix up. So I'm just going to quickly do these tiny dots here, which that looks like it's a hole. So I'm going to use the close hole function. Oh, no, it's not actually. So see if we can smooth that out. Okay. So I'm just going to check the other side to make sure that that's not there. So there's a few little holes here, which I don't mind, actually, to be honest. If they're so tiny, you might not even notice them, but I'll just go through quickly on fixing these. See if I can just do it like this. All right, looks like I can't, so I'm just going to quickly get these guys. So there's two here. So I'm just going to grab this whole area and just go on the inside and fix it that way. Okay, that looks good. So some of the bigger areas that needs fixing, and these are common areas to look for. Even though you have quite a clear separation between the fingers, the projection can have issues capturing exactly what needs to be projected, right? So you can see here, it's quite messy, right? So I'm just going to try to smooth this out. I'm going to go to the lowest subdiv level and just see where that sort of starts to happen. And it's always easier to smooth at the lowest subdiv. But in this case here, I might just sort of move this back a bit. Right, you can see that the topology here in general is not very good. So we're bound to get issues. Right, see, I'm going to smooth that out. Might isolate this. Okay, we'll get this side as well. I'll come into here and just do it like that so I get both sides. And I can somewhat try to work symmetrical. Okay, so let's grab as much as we can. Alright, I'm just going to move this back a little bit. Alright, so let's go up a subdivision level and just work our way up. Like I said, it is best to do this early. So as you sort of see this problem happening when you project, you want to fix this. But if you don't, then you just got to do what I'm doing now. And it's just harder. It's harder to do it this way because if you do it as you go, you can fix it early on, and then it doesn't get as extreme as what we have here. You can just start smoothing. Well, you don't need to smooth as much. You can just focus on your design. Right. All right, let's go up again. Okay, so let's go up again, and it's probably going to go crazy, but it would just be less crazier if we just do it level by level, right? And I'm just going to use a bigger brush just to smooth this all out. This part here as well. And I'll fix this up a little bit later. Okay, so that's that part done. There's definitely other pieces. So I saw some near the wrist. So these guys here, issues. If I can try to fix this, it's not too bad. If I can fix it at the highest subdiv, I'll do that because that way it'll just be faster. If not, then I'll do the method where you go to the lowest and just work your way up. Alright, this part here is getting a bit too difficult to work with. I wonder if I can sort of sculpt this out a bit. Right, so it looks like it's not going to work. So I'm just going to go down in subdivs and try to jig this a little bit. Right, so let's go down. There we go. Great, so let's go back up. It'll probably mess up a little bit. It just won't be as bad, and we should be able to capture it and smooth it out quite easily. So let's go up. So obviously in this area we need to fix, probably resculpt this area to make it detailed again. So that's a easy fix, that one. You can just smooth that out. That one can smooth out. And I think around the ankles definitely will have some issues. This isn't properly sculpted anyways. You can see all the sculpt strokes. So, I'm going to clean it up anyways. So I'm not too worried if I come into here and smash it all up a bit. Let's see if I can just fix this. All right, let's smooth that off. All right, and the toes. I really hate doing the toes and fingers because it's just so hard to get to. But it's just how it is. You wouldn't really get this issue if you were to manually retopo, right? So if you do need to do a bit of sculpting, just do that. Because you probably will need to anyways. Because as you do this sort of projection process, you do lose a tiny little bit of detail. It's not perfect. And it doesn't matter how much you subdivide or how often you do it, it just won't be exactly the same. It's just a little bit inaccurate. So if you want to get some of those details back, then you have to sculpt it back in. So just expect that to happen. All right. Oh, this is a giant mess here. So let's see. I don't want to destroy too much detail. I also don't want to. Also want this part to hurry up because it takes forever. Okay, so I'm just gonna go down. You can sort of speed up the video if you want, if you're not sort of experiencing these issues. But if you want to sort of go through the journey with me on fixing this, then you can. So I'm just going to try to dam standard just to sort of push these areas back in a little bit. So let's just let that save. Okay, that's probably good enough for now. Let's go up in res to the final res just to make sure it's all good. Use a bit of smoothing here. And I'm not going to detail the bottom of the foot anyway, so I don't mind if I smooth a bit more than what I would recommend. Let's take a look at the fingers. Oh no, we did the fingers. We have an issue on this side of the foot. You can see that's not, like I said, it's not working symmetrical is not 100% accurate. Like there's a slight inaccuracy to it. So when you're doing these tiny fixes and you're basically working on a million polygon subtool and you're just trying to smooth one vertice, it's not, you can see the inaccuracy sometimes. So just make sure you look at the other side even if you have symmetry turned on, because it can really throw you off when you don't realize and it's really not accurate, right? It's not symmetrical anymore, right? Trying to make this thicker, right? This part here, it's a bit sort of, I might need to go down in res to smooth this out a bit more. So just go to lower res. Okay, let's check this out. That looks pretty good. I think there was one last area. There's a bit on the back here, I think. Might have fixed that up a little bit earlier. I think that's pretty much it for this. One thing that you can do is just to make sure that it's good. You kind of want to soften it out if you need to. Is in here, right? So you can see there's some issues there. And I generally find that in this area, there's always something going off. Something's always wrong in this point. So I'm just going to smooth all that out. So it's nice and clean to work with. Great. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The lips I noticed earlier today. I thought I'll leave that for the video so you can see that happening. And lips is one of those things that usually always breaks. So I'm just going to isolate that area. Take a look at what I'm working with here. It looks pretty bad. And the annoying parts about lips is because it's usually always really bad. And when you go through the whole smoothing process, you just destroy a lot of the details. So a lot of the times I have to end up redoing the details of the lip. Because it feels like no matter what I do, I always end up destroying the detail, right? Some people go through painstakingly to isolate this area out. I mean, you can try to do that. You just end up doing something like this where you just take out as much as you can, and it's probably a good idea actually, so let's just do that. So I'm going to change it from an rectangle to lasso, so the stroke type. I'll make it a bit easier to get what I want. Okay, so let's see if that will be good enough. So let's go high res. You can see it starting to break. Just carefully come into here and see if you can push that back. So it looks like it's just like this area here. So I might see if I can isolate a little bit more to sort of try to protect as much as possible in this process. So you can see how frustrating this part is. So I think I go and try and do it manually. So try to fix it up like this. And I think I usually end up just giving up and just smoothing it all out and redoing the lips. But these are one of the sort of major drawbacks when you do this auto retopology. Is that it is I do find that you end up with these issues more because it's just not accurate. It's just not optimal to do it this way. Like this, So I might see if I can use mask this area out. So I might see if I can mask by borders. Right. Invert that. So grow this. So shrink that. See if I can just try to protect some of these edges a bit, right? As much as possible. Right. Okay, let's go up in resolution. And let's just fix that. So I'm probably going to just rebuild a lot of this. So that's okay if I destroy it a little bit too much. Oh my god. Alright. Let's see if I can use some of these deformation sliders. So let's relax this. I don't know if that will work. I don't think that will work. Maybe not. I mean, it's lagging quite a bit, so it's probably not worth it. It's probably going to crash. Right, I escaped out of that because I didn't think that was worth doing. Okay, so let's go and go higher in the subdivs. Can't remember what level we're at. I think it was 4. Whoops. Okay, let's just continue doing it the way that I know works. Okay, it's not that bad. All right. There probably won't be that much we have to rebuild. But I was probably going to go in here anyways and do a lot of manual fixing or manual detailing, just because I like to do another pass over the whole model at this point before I before I start baking and doing all that sort of stuff. Just because like I said, when you're doing this sort of projection, it's not 100% accurate. You do lose detail, just slightly. And to be honest, you probably won't even notice, and the regular person most likely won't even notice looking at your work. So don't feel like you have to do this. I'll say that's more of a personal thing that I like to do. I like to make sure that it's as detailed as I can get, I guess. And I like to take this opportunity to do like last minute sort of changes. So if I want to sort of change the design a little bit, just slightly, and when I say a little bit, I really mean just moving, maybe the cheekbone like half a quarter of a centimeter higher than it was. So very minimal changes. When I see it at a whole, so might think of some new ideas or something. Just last tweaks. I wouldn't say changes. Tweaks would be a better word. Almost done here. Just a little bit left, and we should be good to go after this. Great, we've got one tiny little bit here, and then I think we can move on. Okay. So now that I have that all fixed, I'm just going to quickly do one last minute check, and the face is where I'm more concerned with because that's going to be the main focus of this piece. Okay, these fingers are all wacky. So I'm just gonna try to isolate that out. Fix that up. Okay, it's really wacky. I think I'm gonna go down in res and just slowly work my way back up. All right, so or just go down and then we're good. So go back up just to make sure it's all good. Usually one few guys that need fixing. Great. Okay, so that looks good. I'm happy with that. Hopefully there's nowhere else that needs fixing. So there's a couple things that we can do here. We can try to reproject now. Now that we fix these errors up, we can project to get those details back, or we can just manually sort of fix things up. And to be honest, I probably would lean to just manually fixing things up, because it probably wouldn't take that long and you'd do a better job anyways. So yeah, it's up to you at this point what you want to sort of do. If you want to fix things up, then do that. If you want to project, then just see if you can try to project again. And sometimes you can just project and you can get good results the second time, because you sort of move things around, you sort of smooth things out and make things a bit cleaner. So yeah, you can sometimes get a clean result, right? But I'm going to take this opportunity to sculpt these things back in, but also not just sculpt these things back in, but sort of see where I can improve in some areas. So I know I'm going to have to sculpt some areas in and fix some areas up a bit. So like, for example, the toes, I will have to fix up completely because there's brush strokes everywhere. So these ankles need to be blended in. So because we have these subtools separated, when we're building this thing, it's all in, we see these lines, so we need to get rid of them basically. And I'm going to bring back my square brush because I just think that's a better brush to, it's just more aggressive at fixing things and building things up. So I'm going to grab this and fix that. And just start blending these areas back in that were separated. So the arms were pretty good to begin with. I don't think there's much that needs to be done there. But maybe just some slight sort of tweaking. Just adjust that focal shift a little bit. And then intensity. I'm just going to sculpt this sort of into each other, all right, while smoothing as well if I need to. The one area that I really want to blend in would be here, this part here, mainly at the back, and this area here, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause it. So I'll probably do this part, but then I'll pause it. It's just start blending this stuff in, right? Because it's all separated, and it's not supposed to look like this, right? So we need to spend a bit of time fixing this up. And I'm doing this at the highest subdiv level. So you just got to be a bit careful when you do this at the highest subdiv level, because you can't make too many mistakes here. Because if you do, then it can be quite difficult to fix up, right? So you kind of want to work with low intensity brushes, I find anyways, and just come into here and just do the fixing that you need to fix. So I just want to blend the back into the butt. Like that. I kind of like this sort of hard line here. I wanted this sort of, this particular look around here, but maybe not that hard. So I might soften that section a little bit just by brushing over it. Maybe smooth out this area a little bit as well. And I kind of like the way this looks. Right, so I'm going to move over here. Just blend this, these two subtools back into each other. So just going to smooth out that line a little bit. So make a really small, smooth brush size and just go over those lines. And in some places that might be enough to do that. So for example, up here will probably be enough. Right. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring my clay build up and just brush over in these areas. And I'll probably end up doing the skin, redo the skin just in this little area here. Just to make sure that it's just not obvious that there was a separation here. I want to make sure that it looks good. Just some last minute sort of design changes or tweaks here. I think having this nice sort of change in the muscle would be cool. Oh, got to change the intensity here. So I accidentally pressed the undo history, so it's going. It's going to take a while to sort of think. All right, let's take that all the way back. Sorry about that. So I already when I did the initial merging, I went through and just did some large wholesale sort of changes to the silhouette. So I just got a massive move brush and just done some slight tweaks. So I made the chest slightly bigger. I think I made the shoulders go out slightly more. Brought the hips in a bit, and I brought the legs, the thighs out a little bit more. So you can do some changes like this, and it's all real tiny changes, but I think this is a good time to sort of do that. So like here, I'm probably going to use the move brush and just push this up a bit more, because I kind of want to push this part in, kind of like under the chest, and have this part come out a bit. So don't be afraid to do some changes, well, not changes, tweaks, I should say. Keep using the word changes, but that's not the right word, because you don't want to change it, but some tweaks like this is cool. So just make sure you have lazy mouse turned on when using Dam Standard, because you can get this sort of dotted effect if you don't. And you got to make sure that you reduce the lazy steps. So you can see the dotted effect versus now. It's much more clearer. You can sort of see it's a much smoother effect, right? So, and those little dots at a really high subdivision levels, they're kind of hard to get rid of sometimes, right? Okay. All right, I kind of want this. I'll probably do this a bit later, but I want this area to be like a nice sort of curve there. So I'll just do it now. Bring this area up a little bit. So we'll see this line coming here. I want a nice curve. I think that'll look pretty nice. I might bring out the chest just slightly to achieve that look. Great. I think that's a cool little look there. I'll probably go over and tweak this a little bit more, just blend it in a bit nicer. Great. So we got some areas up here that need to be blended. So I'm just going to use the clay build up and just go over this. And what I'm going to do at this point, I'm just going to pause the recording and come back when it's done. So right now it's what is it? It's 11 o'clock, so 10:53. So we'll see how long it takes. Great, so I'm back. That didn't take too long. For some reason, I thought I was going to. It was just going to take a really long time, but it didn't. So all I'm going to do now, from now to the next video, is just fix all of this up. So I don't know if I'm going to project again, because this area kind of failed for a reason. Probably because it just wasn't good enough, right? The original sculpture, right? So I need to probably be a bit more careful with this part here. So there are some areas that are, that are gone, like these sort of parts here, which I kind of like the look of them. The way they were before. It kind of sucks that I have to rebuild it, but that's just how it is sometimes. I'll try to, if I was going to rebuild it project it, I'll show you how I would go about it. So we have this, the retopo mesh, and then we have the good one, or the good one and the bad one, right? So this is the bad one, where we just have it all merged together. And then the good ones here, I have it. So I'm just going to mask out the areas we want to project, which will be here. Like that. Okay, and then we can bring back the other one now. And then I'm just going to project, I might increase the blur value a little bit to see if that might help. Sorry, I'm supposed to invert the projection mapping. So I don't want to project, so I'm just going to press escape to try to get out of that. Right. Great. So just invert the mask. So my masking hasn't been inverting lately. I'm wondering if there's a bug. So anyways, I can press the button, it seems to work. So I'm gonna just invert that mask and then project with a blur that's a little bit higher. So that might help, it might not. So hopefully it doesn't take too long because I'm just projecting a smaller area, but this process can take quite a bit of time, right? So I think that's done. Oh yeah, not bad. So it looks like I could probably just run with that. So yeah, you could reproject. It seems to work fairly okay. Sometimes I find that you just get the same old issues back again, but you can sort of see that these details are a bit blurred compared to the original. So the original is quite a lot more detailed in these areas, or it's not as blurry. So the original is actually up here. You can see how much more detailed that cut is, right? Not this one, but that one. Kind of didn't worry about that, but I kind of want to go back to that sort of detail. At the same time, probably wouldn't notice it too much, to be honest. But I'll go back into here and sort of redo some of these things, these sort of cuts and things like that. And it might seem like a pretty useless thing to do because we just we made them, but it's just how it is with sculpting. Sometimes you just got to redo things. And that's okay, because when you go back and redo it, sometimes you can redo it better. So I think with these guys, actually, I used there's a brush in here called Slash. I think I used this one. Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. So let's increase the... Yeah, I think I used this brush. Which is cool because it gives you sort of this... sort of lists the areas on the sides up a bit of the cut, which gives it a more believable sort of look. Right, and then you can hit that with the pinch to get a more accurate sort of look, I guess. This brush here might not be too bad for wrinkles, but let's see. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a pinch work here, just to bring those cuts in a little bit more. Bring it closer together towards the ends. Okay, so let's see. So we have our slash brush at a low intensity. Might work pretty well as a wrinkle sort of brush. Nah, probably not. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video here. I am going to go through all the details again, where I think is necessary. So I won't go through every single little detail, but I think it was probably worthwhile to just double check some things, and if it needs, if I need to go over it again or redo it because it's softened out too much from the projection, then I'll just do that, right? And I'll probably need to do some. I probably just need to contrast some areas a bit more. Right, make some last minute silhouette changes if I need to. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop this video here and I'll see you guys in the next one.